They say every bride cries on her wedding day, but Amelia Hartford's tears weren't from joy. They were from guilt. As Michael Dalton slipped the ring onto her finger and kissed her like she was the answer to all his prayers, she wanted to scream the truth, that she didn't love him, that their entire romance had been a carefully constructed lie, and that the only reason she was standing in this church was because her mother had given her an impossible choice: marry this man or watch her 16-year-old brother die. But she couldn't tell him. Not yet. Not when Lucas's life hung in the balance. So she smiled. She said, "I do." And she walked into a marriage built on the most devastating deception imaginable. What Amelia didn't expect was that somewhere between the lies and the pretending, something real would happen. Something that would change everything. The morning sun filtered through the stained glass windows of St. Catherine's Church in Charleston, casting rainbow patterns across the white marble floor. Amelia Hartford stood in the bridal suite, staring at her reflection in the full-length mirror. The dress was exquisite. French lace, hand-beaded, the kind of gown she'd dreamed about as a little girl. Now it felt like a costume, a beautiful lie wrapped around her body. "Stop fidgeting," Victoria Hartford snapped, adjusting the veil with sharp, precise movements. "You look perfect. Smile." Amelia's lips curved upward automatically, a response trained into her since childhood. In the mirror, she watched her mother's face. Coldly beautiful, completely satisfied. Victoria looked like a woman who'd just won a particularly challenging game of chess. "Remember what we discussed," Victoria said, her voice low. "Michael believes this is a love match. Keep it that way. Lucas's next treatment payment is due in 2 weeks." The mention of her brother's name made Amelia's chest tighten. 16-year-old Lucas sitting in a medical facility across town, his body slowly deteriorating from a degenerative neurological condition. Except there was a cure, experimental, expensive, and completely out of reach. Until Victoria had found a solution. Michael Dalton. "I know," Amelia whispered. "Good girl." Victoria's hand rested briefly on Amelia's shoulder, the closest thing to affection she'd shown in weeks. "Now let's go give Charleston society something to talk about." The church was packed. 300 guests filled the pews. Amelia recognized most of them, the old money families of Charleston, the country club set, the people who'd watched the Hartford family's quiet financial collapse with barely concealed satisfaction. Amelia Hartford, once untouchable, marrying Michael Dalton. New money, self-made, a man who'd built his construction empire with his own hands. The kind of man the old guard would never fully accept, no matter how many millions he accumulated. As Amelia walked down the aisle alone, her father had been dead for 3 years, she kept her eyes fixed on Michael waiting at the altar. The tailored tuxedo fit him perfectly, and when he saw her, his entire expression illuminated. He looked at her like she was a miracle. The guilt hit Amelia so hard she almost stumbled. Michael stepped forward instinctively, offering his hand to steady her. His palm was warm, slightly calloused, and his smile was tender. "You're breathtaking," he whispered. Amelia managed to smile back, hoping he couldn't see the tears threatening to form. Not tears of joy, tears of shame. The ceremony began. When it came time for vows, Michael turned to face her fully, taking both her hands in his. "Amelia," he began, his voice thick with emotion, "from the moment I met you at that cafe on King Street, I knew you were special. You didn't see my bank account or my reputation. You saw me, the real me. You asked about my sister, about Sophie, about the things that actually mattered. You made me believe that someone like you could choose someone like me." Several women in the front rows dabbed at their eyes. Amelia felt sick. "I promise to spend every single day of my life proving I'm worthy of that choice," Michael continued. "I promise to protect you, to cherish you, to build a life with you that's based on truth and partnership. You're my miracle, Amelia, and I will never take that for granted." Now it was Amelia's turn. She'd memorized the words Victoria had written for her, practiced them until they sounded natural. She opened her mouth and delivered her lines. "Michael, you showed me what real strength looks like. Not the kind that comes from privilege, but the kind that's earned through perseverance and integrity. You've opened your heart and your life to me, and I promise to honor that gift. I choose you, today and always." The lie tasted like ash in her mouth, but Michael's eyes shone with unshed tears. He believed every word. "I now pronounce you husband and wife," the priest announced. "You may kiss your bride." Michael cupped Amelia's face gently and kissed her with such tenderness that for a moment she forgot this was all an act. For just 1 second, she let herself imagine this was real. Then, reality crashed back. The reception was held at the Harbour Club, overlooking Charleston's waterfront. White roses and crystal chandeliers, champagne flowing like water. Victoria had spared no expense. Using Michael's money, of course, though he didn't know that yet. During dinner, Michael stood to give a toast. "I'm not good with speeches," he began. "I'm better with blueprints and building plans. But today calls for words, so I'll do my best." He turned to look at Amelia, and the raw emotion on his face made her want to disappear. "I grew up in a small house in North Charleston," Michael said. "My dad was a carpenter, my mom worked at the grocery store. They taught me that honest work and integrity were worth more than any amount of money." He paused, his voice growing softer. "But none of that mattered until I met Amelia. She didn't care about any of it. She asked me about my sister Rachel, about raising Sophie alone, about the things that keep me up at night. She chose me when no one else would." Michael's hand found Amelia's, squeezing gently. "Amelia, you've given me the greatest gift, the gift of being known and loved anyway. I promise to spend every day of our life together worthy of that gift." He raised his glass. "To my wife, my partner, my best choice." "To Amelia," the crowd echoed. Amelia stood, her legs shaking, and kissed Michael's cheek. The applause was thunderous. Across the room, she saw Victoria watching with cool satisfaction. As the evening wore on, Amelia excused herself to the bathroom. In the marble-tiled sanctuary, she gripped the edge of the sink and stared at her reflection. The door opened. Victoria entered, checking that they were alone. "Excellent performance," she said, reapplying her lipstick. "He's completely convinced. This will work perfectly." "I feel like I'm going to be sick," Amelia whispered. "Don't be dramatic. You're securing Lucas's survival. That's what matters." Victoria snapped her compact shut. "Michael's already transferred the first payment to the medical facility. Lucas starts the new treatment protocol on Monday because of you. He's a good man, Mother. He doesn't deserve this." Victoria's expression hardened. "Good men finish last, Amelia. This is a transaction. He gets a beautiful wife from a respected family, we get financial security, and Lucas gets to live. Everyone wins. Except Michael doesn't know it's a transaction. And he never will, unless you're stupid enough to tell him." Victoria's hand shot out, gripping Amelia's wrist hard enough to hurt. "Lucas has maybe 6 months without this treatment. 6 months before his nervous system degrades completely. You want that on your conscience? Then by all means confess everything and watch my generosity disappear." Amelia pulled her wrist free, rubbing the red marks. "I understand. Good. Now fix your lipstick and get back out there. Your husband is looking for you." When Amelia emerged, Michael was indeed waiting in the hallway, concern creasing his forehead. "You okay?" he asked. "You were gone a while. Just needed a moment. It's overwhelming." His expression softened immediately. "I know. Found to escape for a few minutes, get some air." They slipped out to the terrace overlooking the harbor. Michael removed his jacket and draped it over Amelia's shoulders. "I know this is all new," Michael said quietly. "Moving into my house, dealing with Sophie, all of it. We'll take it one day at a time, okay? No pressure." His kindness was a knife twisting in her gut. "I need to tell you something," Michael continued, "about Lucas. Whatever he needs, we'll make sure he gets it. The treatment, the specialists, everything. You don't have to worry about the cost. He's your brother, which makes him my family too now." And there it was. The entire reason she was standing here. Michael's generous heart, his deep pockets, his desperate need to be accepted by someone from Amelia's world. Victoria had read him perfectly. "That means so much to me," Amelia said, and this at least was true. Whatever else was happening, Lucas would live. That had to be worth something. Music drifted from inside. Michael offered his hand. "May I have this dance, Mrs. Dalton?" The new name sounded foreign. Amelia placed her hand in his and let him lead her back inside, where they swayed together under crystal chandeliers while 300 people watched. Michael held her close, completely content. Amelia closed her eyes and tried not to think about how much she was going to hurt this man. Eventually, the reception ended. Michael and Amelia climbed into his truck. As they pulled away from the Harbor Club, Michael reached across the console to take Amelia's hand. "I can't believe you're finally my wife," he said, his voice full of wonder. Amelia stared out the window at Charleston passing by, the world she'd grown up in and was now supposed to be leaving behind. "I need to check on Lucas tomorrow," she said quietly. "Make sure he's ready for the new treatment to start." "Of course. We'll go together if you want. I'd like to meet him properly." Michael squeezed her hand. "Whatever he needs, Amelia. I mean that. Family takes care of family." They drove through the night toward Michael's house, and with every mile, Amelia felt the weight of her deception growing heavier. She'd made her choice, sold herself to save her brother. Michael pulled into the driveway of a beautiful 2-story home in Mount Pleasant. "Home," Michael said softly. He came around to open Amelia's door and offered his hand. At the front door, he paused. "I know this is traditional, but I'm going to do it anyway." Michael swept her up into his arms. He carried her across the threshold, laughing at her startled expression. "Welcome home, Mrs. Dalton," he said, setting her down gently in the foyer. Sophie appeared at the top of the stairs in her pajamas. "You're back. Was the wedding beautiful?" Michael grinned up at his niece. "It was perfect. Now back to bed, troublemaker. You can interrogate Amelia tomorrow." "Okay. Good night, Uncle Michael." "Good night, Aunt Amelia." The easy domesticity of it all made Amelia's chest ache. "I should probably let you get settled," Michael said. "Your things arrived this afternoon. I had them put in the master bedroom. If you need anything, I'm just down the hall in the guest room. I figured you might want some space to adjust." He was giving her an out, being considerate, patient, everything Victoria had predicted he would be. "Thank you," Amelia whispered. Michael stepped closer, cupping her face with one hand. "I know I keep saying this, but I'm the luckiest man alive. Thank you for choosing me, Amelia. I won't let you regret it." He kissed her softly, reverently. Then he stepped back, smiled, and headed upstairs. Amelia stood alone in the foyer of her new home, still wearing her wedding dress, and finally let the tears fall. Amelia woke to sunlight streaming through unfamiliar windows. For a moment she forgot where she was. Then reality settled over her like a weight. Michael's house, Michael's bed, Michael's last name. She was alone. A folded piece of paper rested on the pillow beside her. "Good morning, Mrs. Dalton. Didn't want to wake you. You looked peaceful. Had to get to the Riverside project early, but there's coffee ready downstairs. Sophie's excited to spend the day with you. Can't wait to come home to you tonight. M." The note was written in strong, clear handwriting. Amelia crumpled it slowly, then smoothed it out again, guilt twisting in her stomach. When she ventured downstairs, she found the kitchen already occupied. Sophie sat at the breakfast table, working on a coloring book. "Good morning," Sophie said politely. "Good morning, Sophie." "Uncle Michael made pancakes before he left," Sophie offered. "They're in the microwave if you want some. He makes really good pancakes." Of course, Michael had thought of breakfast. Of course he had. She sat down across from Sophie with her coffee and the pancakes she wasn't sure she could eat. Sophie continued coloring, occasionally glancing up with curious eyes. "Can I ask you something?" Sophie finally said. "Of course. Are you going to live here forever now because you're married to Uncle Michael?" The question was so innocent, so straightforward. "Yes," Amelia said. "I live here now." "Okay, that's good. Uncle Michael talks about you all the time. He says you're the most beautiful person in the world, inside and out." Sophie returned to her coloring. "I think you're pretty too." Amelia's throat tightened. "Thank you, sweetheart." Sophie brightened. "It's a picture of a family, see? That's Uncle Michael, and that's me, and I was thinking maybe this could be you now." She pointed to a yellow-haired figure. "We could be a real family." The hope in Sophie's voice was devastating. "Do you know how to cook?" Sophie asked suddenly. "Uncle Michael said you might not because you lived in a really fancy house before, but that's okay. He said we could learn together." "I don't actually. I never learned." "That's okay," Sophie repeated. "Uncle Michael didn't know how either when Mama died, but he learned from YouTube videos. He burned a lot of stuff at first." The mention of Rachel, Michael's sister, Sophie's mother, hung in the air. Another piece of information Victoria had researched and catalogued. Single father figure, needs domestic stability, vulnerable to offers of family completion. "Your Uncle Michael seems like a very good man," Amelia said carefully. "He is. He's the best." Sophie's conviction was absolute. "When Mama died, he told me he would take care of me forever and ever. And he does." Every word was another stone added to the weight of Amelia's guilt. Around 11, Amelia's phone buzzed. "Victoria, have you visited Lucas yet? Don't forget, he needs to see you looking happy. The last thing we need is him getting suspicious." At noon, Amelia attempted to make lunch. She somehow managed to cut her finger with the knife while slicing tomatoes. "Oh no!" Sophie jumped up, grabbing paper towels with practiced efficiency. "Here, press this on it. I'll get the Band-Aids. Uncle Michael keeps them under the sink." Within minutes, Sophie had Amelia patched up and sitting at the table while the 8-year-old finished making sandwiches for both of them. The role reversal was humiliating. "It's okay," Sophie said kindly. "Everybody has to learn sometime. Uncle Michael says the important thing is trying." After lunch, Amelia drove to the Riverside Care Facility where Lucas was staying. The building was modern, expensive looking. Thanks to Michael, Lucas had a private room with large windows overlooking a garden. Her brother was in his wheelchair by the window, reading on a tablet. At 16, Lucas had their father's dark hair and sharp features, though illness had made him gaunt. When he saw Amelia, his face lit up. "You're married? Let me see the ring." Amelia crossed the room and hugged him carefully. He was so fragile now, then held out her left hand. The diamond caught the light, sparkling obscenely. "It's huge," Lucas said, impressed. "Michael must really love you." "He's very generous." "More than generous." "Amelia, the doctors came by this morning. They said the treatment starts Monday. The real treatment, the one that might actually work. Because of Michael." Lucas's eyes were bright with tears. "He's saving my life. You married an actual hero." Amelia sat down on the edge of Lucas's bed, unable to meet his eyes. "I'm just glad you're getting help. Are you happy? With him?" "I'm fine, Lucas. Really. Michael is wonderful to me." It wasn't technically a lie. Michael was wonderful. That was the problem. When she left the facility, Victoria was waiting in the parking lot, leaning against her Mercedes. "How did he seem?" Victoria asked without preamble. "Hopeful. Happy. The treatment starts Monday." "Good. Michael came through exactly as predicted." Victoria lit a cigarette. "How's domestic life treating you?" "I cut myself making lunch. An 8-year-old had to bandage me up." Victoria laughed, the sound sharp. "Well, you'll learn, or hire help. Either way, maintain appearances. That's all that matters." "He left me a note this morning," Amelia said quietly. saying how lucky he feels, how he can't wait to come home to me. And doesn't it bother you at all what we're doing to him? Victoria's expression hardened. What we're doing is ensuring your brother lives to see 17. Everything else is just noise, Amelia. Michael gets a beautiful wife from a good family. We get financial security. Lucas gets treatment. It's a fair exchange. He doesn't know it's an exchange. Then make sure it stays that way. Victoria dropped her cigarette and ground it out with her heel. I have a charity luncheon. Try not to burn down Michael's house while playing housewife. By the time Amelia returned to the house, it was nearly 4. She found Sophie in the living room, homework spread across the coffee table. "How's your brother?" Sophie asked. "He's good, excited about his treatment." "That's wonderful. Uncle Michael said he wants to meet Lucas soon. He said anybody who's family to you is family to him now, too." Of course he did. At 5:55, they heard the truck in the driveway. Sophie ran to the door. Amelia followed more slowly, her heart pounding. Michael came through the door in work clothes, jeans, boots, traces of dust on his shoulders. He looked tired, but his face transformed when he saw them. "My favorite people," he said, scooping Sophie into a hug. Then he crossed to Amelia, kissing her forehead gently. "How was your day? Did you get to see Lucas?" "I did. He's doing well. Excited about Monday." "That's great. I was thinking maybe next week we could bring him here for dinner, if the doctors clear it." 20 minutes later, Michael emerged from the shower and headed straight for the kitchen. Amelia followed, feeling useless. "Can I help?" she offered. "Sure. You can chop vegetables if you want." Michael pulled ingredients from the refrigerator. "I was thinking stir-fry, simple but good." He handed her a cutting board and knife, and Amelia stared at the vegetables like they were alien objects. "Like this," Michael said gently, demonstrating with an onion. "Just take your time, there's no rush." They worked in companionable silence, and despite everything, Amelia found something almost peaceful in the rhythm of it. "This is nice," Michael said suddenly. "All of us together like this. It's what I always wanted, a real family." The knife slipped. Amelia jerked her hand back just in time. "Careful," Michael said, steadying her hand. "You okay?" "Fine, just clumsy." "You're doing great." His smile was warm, genuine. "Everything's better with you here, Amelia. The house feels like a home now." After dinner, Michael and Amelia were left alone in the kitchen, loading the dishwasher together. "Thank you for today," Michael said. "I know it's all new and probably overwhelming, but you're doing amazing." "I cut myself making lunch," Amelia admitted. "Sophie had to fix me up." Michael laughed, the sound rich and genuine. "She's had practice. I've sliced my fingers more times than I can count learning to cook. You make it look easy now." "That's just practice. Give yourself time." He turned to face her, his expression softening. "Amelia, I don't expect you to be perfect. I just want you. The real you. That's all I've ever wanted." If only he knew there was no real her to want. Just a constructed version, carefully designed by Victoria to push all his buttons. "You're very patient with me," Amelia said, "because you're worth it." Michael reached out, tucking a strand of hair behind her ear. "I meant everything I said in my vows yesterday. You choosing me, someone who'll never be fully accepted by your mother's crowd, that means everything." Each word was a blade. That evening, after Sophie had gone to bed, Michael found Amelia on the back porch. "You okay?" he asked, sitting beside her. "You seem quiet tonight." "Just processing everything. It's a lot of change." Michael's phone buzzed. He glanced at it, then did a double take. That's weird." Amelia's stomach dropped. "What?" "Email from the cafe on King Street, the one where we met." Michael picked up his phone, reading. "They mentioned the barista that day, Jessica. Say she was so happy to hear we ended up together, that she'd hoped it would work out after all the planning." The blood drained from Amelia's face. "Planning? That's what I thought was weird." "What planning? We just randomly met there." Michael looked at Amelia, genuinely confused. Unless, did you know I went there regularly? Did someone tell you I'd be there that day? This was it. The moment she could come clean, tell him everything, or lie again and dig herself deeper. One of my friends mentioned it was a good coffee shop, Amelia managed. Maybe the barista just meant she hoped the conversation would go well when she saw us talking. Michael considered this. Yeah, probably. Strange way to phrase it, though. He set his phone down, the moment passing. Amelia felt sick. Victoria had paid Jessica, paid her to orchestrate even that small detail. You're shaking, Michael said, concerned. Are you cold? Just tired. It's been a long day. Come here. Michael pulled her close. I know this is all overwhelming, but we're doing great, Amelia, really great. His kindness made it worse. She was lying to him in this exact moment, and he was comforting her. Michael, she started, then stopped. Tell him everything. What is it? But then she thought of Lucas, of the treatment starting Monday, of Victoria's threat to cut it all off if Amelia confessed. Nothing. Just thank you for being patient with me. Always. Michael kissed the top of her head. We've got time to figure everything out. No rush. Later that night, Amelia locked herself in the bathroom and called Victoria. The cafe sent Michael an email, she hissed. The barista mentioned planning. He's starting to ask questions. Victoria's sigh was exasperated. I'll handle it. This is why you need to be careful, Amelia. One slip and this all falls apart. Maybe it should fall apart. Maybe I should just tell him. And Lucas, you want to tell your brother that his treatment is cancelled because you couldn't keep your mouth shut? Victoria's voice was steel. Pull yourself together. You had one small scare. It passed. Michael doesn't suspect anything. Amelia hung up and stared at herself in the mirror. How long could she keep this up? How many close calls before she actually got caught? She had no idea that the answer was 3 more months. Later, lying in bed beside Michael, listening to his steady breathing, Amelia made a silent promise to herself. She would find a way to tell him the truth. Eventually, after Lucas was fully recovered, she would confess everything and accept whatever consequences came. It was the least she owed him, because despite everything, despite the lies and the manipulation and the guilt, Amelia was falling in love with her husband. And that was the most dangerous development of all. 3 weeks passed in a strange rhythm of domesticity. Amelia learned to navigate the grocery store, burned fewer meals, and gradually stopped feeling like a complete imposter in Michael's kitchen. Sophie helped, patient in the way children sometimes are when teaching adults things they find obvious. It was humbling, learning basic life skills at 24. But there was something oddly peaceful about it too. The Hartford mansion had always felt like a museum. Beautiful, cold, untouchable. This house was different, lived in, real. Michael left for work early each morning, but always left notes. Sometimes just a few words, have a great day, can't wait to see you tonight, sometimes longer messages. Amelia kept them all in her nightstand drawer, a growing collection of evidence of his affection, evidence of her betrayal. She visited Lucas 3 times a week. The treatment had started, and while it was too early for dramatic results, the doctors were cautiously optimistic. Lucas had more energy, could stay awake longer, complained less about the pain. Each small victory felt like justification for what Amelia was doing, until she came home and saw Michael's face light up when she walked through the door. Then the guilt crashed back, relentless. On a Wednesday afternoon, Amelia was helping Sophie with a school project when the doorbell rang. Through the window, she saw Victoria's Mercedes in the driveway. Her mother hadn't visited since the wedding. Amelia's stomach dropped. Victoria stepped inside without invitation, surveying the house with barely concealed disdain. Well, so this is where you're playing house. What are you doing here? Checking on my investment. Victoria's gaze swept the living room. How charmingly middle class. After sending Sophie away, they moved to the back porch. Victoria lit a cigarette immediately. "You can't smoke here. Michael doesn't allow it around Sophie. Michael doesn't have to know." Victoria exhaled slowly. "How's married life treating you? You look tired." "I'm fine. Lucas is doing well. The treatment is working." "Yes, $800,000 well spent." Victoria studied her daughter. "You're getting too comfortable here. I can see it. You're starting to believe this little fantasy. I'm doing what you asked, playing the devoted wife. Are you? Because from where I stand, you're getting soft, forgetting this is a business arrangement." Victoria pulled an envelope from her purse. "Property taxes on the mansion are due. $43,000. I need Michael to cover it." Amelia stared at the envelope. "That wasn't part of the deal. You said Lucas's treatment, nothing else." "Circumstances change. Unless you'd prefer I sell the mansion, where would Lucas recover if we lost it?" The manipulation was so transparent, so predictable, and yet still effective. Amelia took the envelope, her hands shaking with suppressed anger. "Fine. I'll handle it." Victoria left without saying goodbye to Sophie. When Amelia returned inside, Sophie was still working on her project, but her small face was troubled. "Your mum seems mean," Sophie said quietly. "She's complicated. Uncle Michael says when people are mean, it's usually because they're unhappy inside. Is your mum unhappy?" "I think she might be, yes." Sophie nodded seriously. "You're much nicer than her. I'm glad Uncle Michael married you instead of someone like her." The innocent comment hit Amelia like a punch. If only Sophie knew the truth. That evening, when Michael came home, Amelia was in the kitchen attempting the chicken recipe he'd taught her. "Something smells amazing," Michael said, kissing her cheek. "You're getting good at this." "My mother stopped by." Michael paused on the stairs, his expression shifting. "Oh? How did that go?" "Fine. She wanted to check in." Amelia stirred the pan, not meeting his eyes. "Actually, there's something she mentioned. Property taxes on the Hartford mansion are due. $43,000. I was wondering if we might help." The words tasted like poison. Michael came back down the stairs slowly. "How much?" $43,000. "I know it's a lot." "It's fine," Michael interrupted. "I'll transfer it tomorrow." "Just like that?" "Amelia, you're my wife. Your family is my family. If they need help, we help." He crossed to her, turning her to face him. "Is everything okay? You seem upset." "I just hate asking you for money. It makes me feel like I'm using you." Michael's laugh was soft, affectionate. "You're not using me. You're letting me take care of you. That's different. That's what partners do." If only he knew. If only he understood that this entire relationship was built on Victoria's carefully constructed lies. "You're too good to me," Amelia whispered. "Impossible. You deserve everything." Dinner was successful. They ate together, the three of them, talking about their days. It felt like a real family. That was the most dangerous part. After Sophie was in bed, Amelia found Michael in his office. "I transferred the money to your mother's account," he said. "Anything else she needs, just let me know." "You don't like her," Amelia said. It wasn't a question. Michael hesitated. "I don't have to like her. I love you. That's what matters." "What is it about her that bothers you? Honestly? The way she treats you like you're an extension of her instead of your own person. The way she showed up today unannounced, didn't even ask how you were doing, just made demands." Michael's jaw tightened. "You deserve better than that." Amelia stared at him, this man who could see through Victoria's act, who recognized her mother's manipulation for what it was, and yet still believed Amelia was different. "You're very perceptive," she managed. "Not really, I just pay attention to the people I love." Michael pulled her into his arms. "You don't have to see her if you don't want to. You're allowed to set boundaries. She's my mother, and you're an adult. You get to decide how much access she has to your life." Except she didn't, because Victoria held all the cards: Lucas's treatment, the threat of exposure, the truth that would destroy this fragile life Amelia had built. The following Saturday, Michael surprised her with tickets to an art exhibition downtown. The gallery was small but elegant. Michael walked beside Amelia, listening as she explained techniques and historical influences, genuinely interested. "You light up when you talk about this stuff," Michael observed. "You should do something with it. Teach, maybe, or volunteer at a museum." "I never thought about it." "Why not? You clearly love it." Michael turned to look at her. "Amelia, you don't have to be just my wife. You can have your own interests, your own career, whatever makes you happy." The suggestion was so foreign. In Victoria's world, women like Amelia existed to manage households and attend charity functions. "I might like that," Amelia admitted. "Teaching, I mean." "Then we'll figure it out." Later, after Sophie was in bed, Michael found Amelia on the back porch. "You've been quiet tonight," he said, sitting beside her. "Everything okay? Just thinking about how different this is from what I expected." It was as close to honesty as Amelia could manage. "My whole life, I thought happiness looked a certain way. Big houses, the right social circles, expensive things. And now I'm not sure any of that matters." Amelia looked at Michael in the dim porch light. "You've built something real here. With Sophie, with your work. It's genuine in a way I never experienced growing up." Michael reached for her hand. "That's all I ever wanted. Something real, someone who saw me, not my bank account." His thumb traced circles on her palm. "When I met you at that cafe, when you asked about Sophie instead of my business, that's when I knew. You were different from everyone else." The memory was vivid for Amelia too, but for completely different reasons. She'd been following Victoria's script that day, asking the exact questions her mother had researched would resonate with Michael. And it had worked perfectly. "I should probably tell you something," Michael continued, "about the spring charity gala your mother mentioned." Amelia's stomach clenched. "What about it?" "I got the invitation. I know she expects us to go." Michael sighed. "I hate those events. The fake conversations, the judgment. We don't have to go." "Yes, we do. Because it matters to you, and you matter to me." Michael squeezed her hand. "I'll put on the monkey suit. Make small talk with people who look down on me. Endure it all. Because you're worth it." The guilt was crushing. He thought this was mutual sacrifice, mutual adaptation. He had no idea that Amelia's entire presence in his life was a calculated manipulation. That night, lying in bed beside Michael, listening to his steady breathing, Amelia felt something shift inside her. A realization so profound it made her breath catch. She was in love with him, not pretending, not performing, actually, genuinely in love. She loved the way he was with Sophie, patient and playful and protective. She loved his principles, his refusal to cut corners. She loved that he defended her to people who looked down on him, that he listened when she talked about art. She loved him, and she was destroying him with every breath. Amelia slipped out of bed and locked herself in the bathroom, gripping the edge of the sink, staring at her reflection with something close to panic. This wasn't supposed to happen. She was supposed to play a role, maintain emotional distance, get through this until Lucas was saved. Falling in love wasn't part of the plan, but it had happened anyway. Somewhere between the burned pancakes and the late-night conversations and the way Michael looked at her like she was precious, she'd fallen completely. Which meant she had even more to lose when the truth inevitably came out. Because it would come out. Lies this big always did. And when Michael discovered what she'd done, he would hate her. Amelia slid down to the bathroom floor, hugging her knees to her chest, and let herself cry silently. She was trapped in a nightmare of her own making, loving a man she was betraying, saving her brother by destroying herself. There was no good way out, only different shades of loss. Her phone buzzed. "Victoria, Lucas's first month of treatment complete. Doctors are optimistic. This is working. Remember what's important." Amelia stared at the message. What was important? Saving Lucas, loving Michael, being honest? She couldn't have all three, and the choice was tearing her apart. The spring charity gala arrived on a warm May evening. Amelia spent the afternoon getting ready, her nerves fraying with each passing hour. Victoria had called 3 times with instructions: smile more, introduce Michael to the right people, make sure he wrote a substantial check. Each call made Amelia feel sicker. Michael emerged from the bedroom in a tailored tuxedo, looking uncomfortable but undeniably handsome. He tugged at his bow tie with a grimace. "I feel like a trained seal," he muttered. "You look perfect," Amelia said, and meant it. "You're stunning," Michael replied, his eyes traveling over her emerald evening gown. The drive to the Harbour Club was quiet. Michael's hands were tight on the steering wheel, his jaw set. "We don't have to stay long," she offered. "It's fine. I can handle a few hours of fake smiles and backhanded compliments." Michael glanced at her. "Just stay close, okay?" The Harbour Club was already crowded when they arrived, Charleston's elite in full formal regalia. Victoria descended on them immediately. "There you are, Michael, you clean up nicely." Her tone suggested this was surprising. "The Whitmore table has asked about your company's new downtown project." "I'll speak with them," Michael said evenly, "after I get my wife a drink." The next 2 hours were an exercise in endurance. They made the rounds, Michael shaking hands with men who barely concealed their disdain for his working-class origins, Amelia smiling until her face hurt. "Amelia, darling," Mrs. Whitmore cooed, "marriage agrees with you." "Thank you, Mrs. Whitmore." "And Michael, congratulations on the Riverside project. I hear it's quite ambitious." The older woman's tone suggested ambitious was a polite word for something else. "Of course, the Whitmore family has been in development for 4 generations. Perhaps you might benefit from some guidance, given your relative inexperience." The condescension was barely veiled. Amelia felt Michael tense beside her. "I appreciate the offer," Michael said, his voice carefully neutral, "but we have a solid team. We'll manage." After dinner, when the pledge cards came around, Michael wrote a check for $50,000 without hesitation. Amelia saw several people crane their necks to see the amount, their expressions shifting from dismissive to calculating. Money talked, even to people who pretended it didn't. "Can we get some air?" Michael whispered. "I'm suffocating in here." They slipped out to the terrace overlooking the harbour. Michael immediately loosened his bow tie, rolling his shoulders. "I don't know how you grew up with this," he said. "The constant performance, the judgment. I didn't know anything else." Michael turned from the window, his expression conflicted. "Are you happy? Really happy? Or are you just going through the motions because this is what you're supposed to do?" "What do you mean?" "I mean you gave up a lot to marry me. Your social circle, your mother's world. Sometimes I wonder if you regret it." "I see someone who's kinder than anyone I've ever known," Amelia said slowly. "Someone who took in his niece without hesitation, who worked 16-hour days to build something meaningful. I see someone real, Michael. That's rarer than you think." Michael's hands came up to frame her face. "I need you to know something. I meant every word of my wedding vows, for better or worse, all of it. I'm in this completely. I know you are. Are you?" The question was quiet, almost afraid. "Because sometimes you get this look, like you're carrying something heavy you won't share with me." Amelia's heart hammered against her ribs. This was it, the moment she could tell him everything. But before she could speak, her phone buzzed. Victoria's message, Lucas's specialist called. "He needs additional testing next week. Another $15,000. Handle it." The reminder of what was at stake crashed over Amelia like a wave. Lucas, her brother, who was finally getting better. She couldn't risk it. Not yet. "I'm here," Amelia said, putting her phone away. "I'm with you, Michael, completely." He kissed her then, and Amelia kissed him back, pouring all her genuine feeling into it. The affection that had grown despite her best efforts, the wish that things could be different. "Let's go home," Michael said. "I've done my time with Charleston Society for the month." Victoria caught Amelia's arm as they were leaving. "Well done tonight." The $50,000 donation was noticed. "You're positioning him perfectly." The drive home was quiet. Michael seemed lost in thought. "What are you thinking about?" Amelia asked. "How different our worlds are. How much you sacrificed to be with me." Michael's hands flexed on the steering wheel. "Your mother looked at me tonight like I was a trained dog doing tricks. I don't care what they think." "Don't you? Even a little?" Michael glanced at her. "Be honest, Amelia. Sometimes don't you wish you'd chosen someone who fit better into your world?" The question was too close to the truth, not because Amelia wished for someone else, but because she hadn't chosen at all. "I chose you," she said, the lie tasting bitter. "That's all that matters." They pulled into the driveway. Michael killed the engine but didn't move to get out. "I need to tell you something," he said. "About your mother." "What about her?" "The way she treats you. It's not okay, Amelia. The constant demands, the manipulation. I see it, even if you don't want to admit it." Michael turned to face her fully. "You're my wife, my partner, not her puppet." If only he knew how close to the truth he was. Inside, Michael was standing by the window, his expression troubled. "Michael, what's wrong?" "I'm probably overreacting," he said slowly. "But something your mother said tonight bothered me. About Lucas's testing next week." Amelia's blood ran cold. "What about it?" "She mentioned it to me in passing, said you'd probably ask me to cover it. But then I started thinking about the timeline. We're only 3 months into Lucas's treatment, so why the rush with additional testing? The doctors want to make sure the treatment is working." "Right, that makes sense." But Michael's expression suggested he wasn't entirely convinced. "It's just that the way she said it, it was almost like she was testing me. You're imagining things." "Am I?" Michael crossed the room. "Because I've been thinking a lot lately about how we got here, about our relationship, and some things don't quite add up." "What do you mean?" "The timing. We met 6 months ago, got married 3 months later. That's fast." Michael's eyes searched her face. "And your mother was very involved from the beginning, arranging situations where we'd run into each other. At first I thought it was just coincidence, but now I wonder." Amelia's heart was pounding. "Wonder what?" "If maybe she orchestrated some of it, pushed us together because she saw an opportunity. Me with money and no social connections, you from an old family with a brother who needs expensive medical care." Michael's voice was careful, almost gentle. "Tell me I'm wrong, Amelia. Tell me that's not what this is." This was it. The moment of truth she'd been dreading and craving in equal measure. But before Amelia could make a choice, voices drifted up from outside. Victoria's voice, sharp and clear from the garden below the bedroom window. "Of course I orchestrated it. Every single moment. Did you really think your daughter randomly fell for a construction worker? I positioned her perfectly. The cafe, the gallery opening, all carefully planned encounters. I researched him for months, found every vulnerability, every desire, and then I packaged Amelia as the solution to all of it." Amelia's vision swam. She rushed to the window. Victoria was below talking on her phone, pacing the garden, completely unaware she could be overheard. Michael stood beside her, his face draining of color. "Lucas's treatment was the perfect leverage," Victoria continued. "Amelia would do anything to save her brother, including marry a man she doesn't love. And Michael Dalton, desperate for acceptance from old money Charleston, fell for it beautifully. He gets a trophy wife from a good family. I get access to his bank account. Everyone wins." Victoria laughed, the sound cruel and satisfied. "Of course Amelia's miserable. She has to pretend to love him. But she'll keep up the act as long as I control Lucas's treatment. She knows what's at stake." Michael stepped back from the window like he'd been struck. His face had gone completely white, his expression shattered. "Michael," Amelia whispered, reaching for him. He jerked away from her touch. Don't. Please let me explain. Explain what? His voice was barely audible, thick with devastation. That everything was a lie. That you never loved me. That I was just a mark in your mother's con. It's not that simple. Yes or no, Amelia? Michael's eyes were bright with unshed tears. Did you marry me because your mother blackmailed you into it? The truth lodged in Amelia's throat like broken glass. She couldn't speak, couldn't breathe. Michael's laugh was hollow, broken. That's what I thought. Michael Lucas, my brother, was dying. The treatment costs $800,000. I didn't have a choice. There's always a choice, Michael's voice cracked. You could have come to me honestly, asked for help. I would have given you the money, Amelia. You didn't have to marry me. You didn't have to make me fall in love with a lie. I know, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Were any of it real? Michael demanded. The conversations at the cafe, the art gallery. That night you told me about losing your father. Were you just reading from a script your mother wrote? Amelia couldn't answer. The truth was too complicated. Get out, Michael said quietly. What? Get out. Each word was precise, controlled, barely containing the rage and hurt beneath. I can't look at you right now, just go. Michael, please, now! The shout echoed through the bedroom. Downstairs, Sophie's frightened voice called out, woken by the yelling. Michael's face crumpled. Look what you've done. Look what your lies have done to this house, to Sophie. I'll explain to her. You won't do anything. You'll leave. Now. Before I say things I can't take back. Amelia grabbed her phone, her purse, still in her evening gown and heels. As she descended the stairs, she saw Sophie in her pajamas, looking small and scared. Aunt Amelia, what's happening? Why is Uncle Michael yelling? I'm sorry, sweetheart, I have to go. I'm so sorry. She fled to her car, started the engine with shaking hands, and drove. Not to the Hartford mansion. She couldn't face Victoria right now. Just away. Her phone rang. Victoria, probably having realized what had happened. Amelia didn't answer. She drove to the harbor, parked, and sat in her car as the full weight crashed over her. Michael knew. He knew everything. And the worst part, the part that made Amelia sob until she couldn't breathe, was that somewhere along the way, it had stopped being entirely fake. She'd fallen for him, for real. And now, it was too late. Her phone lit up with a text from Victoria. What have you done? Amelia threw the phone onto the passenger seat and put her head in her hands. She'd saved her brother's life and destroyed her own. Amelia spent the night in her car parked at the harbor, watching the sun rise over Charleston's waterfront. At 7 in the morning, she finally drove to the Hartford mansion. For the first time in her life, it felt like a prison instead of a home. Victoria was waiting in the study, already dressed impeccably. Her expression was ice. Do you have any idea what you've done? Victoria said without preamble. What I've done? You were the one bragging about your manipulation where anyone could hear. This is a disaster, Amelia. He'll cut off Lucas's treatment. He'll divorce you. We'll lose everything. Good. Victoria's cup paused halfway to her lips. Excuse me? I said good. I can't do this anymore, Mother. I can't lie to him every single day. I can't pretend to love him when I actually do love him. For real. And now he'll never believe that because you ruined everything with your scheming. Victoria set down her cup with deliberate care. Don't be naive. You think this is love? You've convinced yourself you have feelings for him to make the situation bearable. No, it's real. And I've destroyed any chance of him ever believing that. Then fix it. Go back, apologize, explain about Lucas. I did have a choice. I could have asked him honestly for help instead of lying to him for 6 months. Amelia collapsed into a chair, exhausted. He said he would have given me the money if I'd just asked, and he's right, he would have. You don't know that. Yes, I do, because unlike you, Michael is a good person. Amelia's phone rang. Michael's ringtone. Her heart leaped. Amelia. Michael's voice was flat, emotionless. We need to talk about the practical matters. Michael, please, if you'll just let me explain. There's nothing to explain. Your mother's phone call was quite clear. A pause. I'm calling about Lucas. Amelia's breath caught. What about him? I've spoken with his medical team this morning. His treatment continues. I've set up a trust to cover all expenses for the full 8-month protocol, plus any additional care needed afterward. The trust is irrevocable. Your mother can't touch it, and neither can I. Lucas is protected regardless of what happens between us. Tears spilled down Amelia's cheeks. Why would you do that after everything? Because he's 16 and sick, and none of this is his fault. Michael's voice roughened slightly. I meant what I said about family taking care of family. Lucas is innocent in all this. Thank you, Michael. Thank you so much. Don't thank me. I'm not doing this for you. The coldness in his tone was devastating. My lawyer will be in touch about the divorce paperwork. You can stay at the mansion. I don't want anything from you. I don't want your money. I never did. Right. You just wanted access to it through our sham marriage. Michael exhaled sharply. I have to go. Sophie's asking questions I don't know how to answer. Can I talk to her, please? No. You've done enough damage. The line went dead. Victoria watched her with calculating eyes. Well, at least Lucas's treatment is secured. Get out. This is my house, Amelia. Then I'll leave. Amelia stood, her legs shaking. I can't stand the sight of you. Don't be dramatic. Give Michael a few weeks to cool down, then approach him again. He'll come around. Stop. Just stop. Amelia's voice rose. This isn't a game. I destroyed a good man's faith in people. I made him believe someone loved him when it was all manipulation. Do you have any idea what that does to a person? He'll survive, everyone does. You're a monster. Victoria's expression didn't change. I'm a realist. I did what needed to be done to save my son's life. If that makes me a monster in your eyes, so be it. Amelia grabbed her purse and left, driving to the Riverside Care Facility. Lucas deserved to know the truth. She found him in physical therapy, working with resistance bands, his movements stronger than they'd been a month ago. Michael's kindness was saving her brother's life. Lucas lit up when he saw her. Amelia, look, I can do 20 reps now. That's amazing, Luke. She hugged him carefully, blinking back tears. What's wrong? I need to tell you something about Michael, about our marriage. She told him everything. The blackmail, Victoria's manipulation, the orchestrated romance. Michael discovering the truth. Lucas listened, his expression shifting from confusion to horror. You married him because Mom forced you to? To pay for my treatment? I married him to save your life, Luke. You're my little brother. I would do anything for you. But you lied to him. You made him think you loved him. Lucas's voice was anguished. Amelia, that's so messed up. I know. Does he hate you now? Yes, probably. Amelia wiped her eyes. But he's making sure your treatment continues. He set up a trust. You're going to be okay. I don't want this. Not if it means you had to destroy your life. Not if some guy got hurt because of me. This isn't your fault. None of this is your fault. 3 days passed. Amelia existed in a fog, barely eating, not sleeping. The divorce papers arrived via courier on the 4th day. She signed them without reading, returned them the same way. On the 5th day, Margaret appeared at the mansion's door. I heard what happened, the elderly housekeeper said gently. They say he's not doing well. He's not doing well? I destroyed his life, Margaret. And your own, from the look of you. Margaret guided Amelia to the kitchen, started making tea. Tell me everything, child. Amelia did. Margaret listened without judgment. Your mother has always been ruthless, but this goes beyond anything I imagined. I should have said no, should have found another way. With Lucas dying, what other way was there? Margaret squeezed Amelia's hand. "You were in an impossible situation. Michael said I could have just asked him honestly for help. Would you have believed that 6 months ago, before you knew him?" Amelia considered this. 6 months ago, she'd been so conditioned by Victoria's worldview that everything was transactional. That kindness always had a price. "Probably not," she admitted. "Then stop torturing yourself with what-ifs. The question is what you do now." "There's nothing to do. He won't talk to me, he's divorcing me, it's over." "Is it? Because from what I hear, the man set up an irrevocable trust for your brother. That's not the action of someone who's completely closed his heart." After Margaret left, Amelia's phone rang, an unknown number. "Mrs. Dalton, this is David Chen, Michael's business partner." Amelia's pulse quickened. "Is Michael okay?" "Physically, yes. Emotionally, he's a wreck." David paused. "Your mother blackmailed you into the marriage, didn't she? Using your brother's illness as leverage." "How did you—" "Because I know Michael. He said something about your brother's treatment, about how he'd have helped if you'd just asked." David's voice gentled. "Michael thinks you never cared about him at all, that it was all an act from the beginning. It was an act at first, and later. Later it became real, but by then I was in too deep. I couldn't tell him without risking Lucas's treatment, and now he'll never believe that any of it was genuine." "Have you tried telling him?" "He won't talk to me. He made that very clear." "Then make him listen. Show up. Refuse to leave until he hears you out." David's voice was gentle. "He deserves to know the whole truth, not just your mother's version." After the call ended, Amelia sat for a long time thinking. David was right. Michael deserved the whole truth. She had to try. The next morning, Amelia drove to Michael's house. Her hands shook as she rang the doorbell. No answer. "He's not home," a neighbor called. "Leaves early for work these days. Doesn't come back until late." Amelia left a note tucked in the door. "Please, just give me 10 minutes to explain. I know I don't deserve it, but I'm asking anyway." She went back the next day and the next. Each time the note was gone, but there was no response. On the 4th day, the door opened. Michael stood there looking haggard. He'd lost weight, his eyes were shadowed, and the warmth that had always been in his expression when he looked at her was completely gone. 10 minutes, he said flatly. "Then you leave and don't come back." Amelia stepped inside the house that had briefly been her home. Everything looked the same but felt different, colder, emptier. Sophie's backpack was by the stairs, but the little girl was nowhere to be seen. "She's at school," Michael said. "I didn't want her here for this." They sat in the living room, an ocean of space between them on the couch. Michael's jaw was set, his posture defensive. "Talk," he said. Amelia took a shaky breath. "Everything you heard on that phone call was true. Victoria did orchestrate our meeting. She did blackmail me using Lucas's treatment as leverage." Michael's expression didn't change, but what she said on the phone, about me being miserable, about pretending to love you, that was only true at the beginning. Amelia's voice cracked. "At first, yes, I was following her script. But Michael, somewhere along the way, it stopped being an act." Convenient story. "It's the truth. When you talked about Sophie, about building your company from nothing, I saw who you really were. Someone genuine and kind. And I started falling for you, really falling. You had a funny way of showing it, all those lies. I know. I was trapped. If I told you the truth, Victoria would cut off Lucas's treatment. But if I kept lying, I was destroying you." Tears streamed down Amelia's face. "There was no good choice, so I made the selfish one. I kept you in the dark and hated myself more every day." Michael stood abruptly, pacing to the window. "You could have trusted me. At any point you could have come clean. And you would have what? Forgiven me, given me the money anyway. After finding out our entire relationship was a con. I don't know, but you never gave me the chance to make that choice. The person who helped Sophie with her homework, who learned to cook because I wanted to make you happy, who fell asleep every night feeling guilty but also grateful to be next to you. That was real, Michael. That was me. How am I supposed to believe that when everything started as manipulation? You can't. I know you can't. Amelia stood, her legs shaking. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I just needed you to know that what I felt, what I feel, is real, even if you never believe it. Michael's expression was unreadable. Your 10 minutes are up. Amelia moved toward the door. At the threshold, she turned back. Thank you. For Lucas's treatment. For being the kind of person who helps a sick kid even when you're devastated. That's who you are, Michael. Someone impossibly good. And I'm sorry I wasn't worthy of that. That evening back at the Hartford mansion, Amelia couldn't stop thinking. Why hadn't Victoria just asked for money directly? Why the elaborate scheme? Something didn't add up. She waited until Victoria went out, then returned to her father's study. It took 20 minutes to find the key to the filing cabinet, hidden in a hollow book. Inside were folders meticulously labeled, and then, in the back, one labeled simply MD, Michael Dalton. But the research didn't start 6 months ago. It started over 2 years ago. Photographs of Michael at construction sites, business meetings, Sophie's school, detailed psychological profiles, a timeline, month 1 to 3, research phase, identify subjects' patterns and vulnerabilities. Month 4 to 6, position Amelia, strategic, chance encounters. Month 7, first contact, coffee shop on King Street. Every single moment choreographed months in advance. But there was more. Financial records, receipts for payments to Jessica the barista, the art gallery, people in Michael's business circle. Victoria had bought and orchestrated everything. Then Amelia found another folder labeled Whitmore. Inside was a loan agreement. Victoria had borrowed $500,000 from James Whitmore 3 years ago. The loan had come due 2 years ago. Victoria had defaulted. But there was a handwritten amendment. Debt forgiveness contingent on successful social rehabilitation of Whitmore family name through Hartford family connections. Specifically, integration into Charleston society via marriage alliance between Hartford and suitable business prospect of new wealth. Amelia read it 3 times. Michael wasn't just a source of money for Lucas's treatment. He was Victoria's way out of crippling debt. Lucas's diagnosis had simply provided the perfect leverage, but the scheme had been in motion long before her brother got sick. Amelia photographed everything with shaking hands. Her phone buzzed. David Chen. Michael's agreed to meet with you again, tomorrow 2 p.m. at the coffee shop on Broad Street. He wants to understand everything. The next afternoon, Amelia arrived early. Michael was already there with David. I asked David to be here as a witness, Michael said without preamble. That's fine. Amelia sat down, pulling out her phone. I found something last night, evidence. She showed them the photos, all of them. Michael's face grew paler with each image. 2 years, he said quietly. She was researching me for 2 years before we even met. Yes, she studied you, Michael, found every vulnerability, and then she positioned me like bait. Amelia's voice shook. The coffee shop meeting. She paid the barista $500. The art gallery, she donated money to ensure we'd both be there. Every single encounter was bought and paid for. There's more. Amelia showed them the Whitmore contract. Lucas's treatment was leverage, but it wasn't the original motive. Victoria owed James Whitmore $500,000. The deal was, engineer a marriage that would help the Whitmores gain social standing, and the debt would be forgiven. Michael's hands clenched into fists. So I wasn't just a wallet. I was a social climbing tool. I didn't know any of this. I swear. I thought it was just about Lucas. I thought the manipulation started 6 months ago. But she'd been planning this for years, long before I even knew your name. This is criminal, David said, scrolling through the photos. Fraud, at minimum. I was a pawn too, Amelia said. "She used me without telling me the full plan." Michael was quiet for a long moment. When he finally spoke, his voice was raw. "I thought I was so careful, and then you showed up and you seemed different, but it was all manufactured based on psychological research." "Not all of it," Amelia insisted. "Michael, yes, she created the situations, but what I felt in those moments, that was real. How would you even know? If she's been manipulating you your whole life, how do you know what's real?" "I don't know," Amelia whispered. "Maybe I don't. Maybe I'm so broken by her that I can't tell the difference anymore." David cleared his throat. "What do we do about Victoria? We could go to the police." "No," Amelia said immediately. "Lucas will find out the full extent of what was done in his name. This would destroy him. So Victoria just gets away with it?" Michael's voice was hard. Amelia pulled out one more photo, Victoria's financial records. "She's leveraged to the hilt. If that deal falls through, if you and I divorce, the Whitmores will foreclose on the mansion, and about 6 other creditors will come calling. Victoria will lose everything." Michael studied Amelia's face. "You really had no idea about the 2-year timeline?" "None, I swear on Lucas's life." "I believe you," David said. "She's genuinely shocked by this evidence. You can't fake that kind of horror." After David left to get coffee, silence stretched between them. "I don't know what to do with this," Michael finally said. "Part of me wants to hate you, but seeing this evidence, I just feel tired. I'm so sorry for all of it. Maybe you were a 24-year-old woman being manipulated by a master manipulator who'd been training you since birth." Michael ran his hand through his hair. "Do you really believe you fell for me? Or is it just something you're telling yourself to feel less guilty?" "I believe it. I fell in love with you, Michael. And it terrified me because I knew I didn't deserve you." "You're right, you didn't." The words were brutal, but Michael's tone had softened slightly. "But maybe neither of us deserves what your mother did to us. What does this mean? For us?" "I don't know yet. I need time to process this." Michael gathered the photos. "But Amelia, this changes things. Not enough to fix everything, but enough to make me question my assumptions. That's more than I deserve." "Probably." Michael stood. "I'll be in touch, through David. I'm not ready to talk directly yet, but I won't shut the door completely." It wasn't forgiveness, but it was something. When Amelia arrived at the Hartford mansion, Victoria was waiting in the study. One look at Amelia's face, and she knew. "You went through my files." "Yes. You had no right. I had every right. You used me. You used Lucas. You orchestrated a 2-year con and didn't even tell me the full scope. I did what was necessary. For yourself, not for us." Amelia threw the evidence on the desk. "Michael knows everything now, the Whitmore deal, the timeline, all of it. And when this marriage ends, which it will, your carefully constructed house of cards is going to collapse. Where will you go? You have no money, no job. I'll figure it out. Away from you, I can finally think clearly." Amelia paused at the threshold. "You were right about one thing. Life did rob me. It robbed me of a real mother. But at least now I'm free of the fake one." She walked out, leaving Victoria alone in her study. For the first time in her life, Amelia had no plan, no safety net, no script to follow, and it felt like freedom. Amelia rented a small studio apartment with what little money she had left. It was modest, a far cry from both the Hartford mansion and Michael's comfortable home, but it was hers. No Victoria, no manipulation, just quiet space to figure out who she was without someone else's script. After 2 weeks of job rejections, she finally landed a position at a community center, teaching art classes to children after school. The pay was minimal, but the work felt meaningful. 3 weeks later, David called. "Michael wants to see you again, but he has conditions." "What conditions?" "Therapy, both individual and couples sessions. He wants a professional to help you both work through what happened." David's voice was gentle. He's not promising reconciliation. He's just willing to try to understand if there's anything real to salvage. I'll do anything, Amelia said immediately. They met at Dr. Elena Martinez's office the following week. She was a woman in her 50s with kind eyes and a no-nonsense demeanor. "I'm not here to save your marriage or to assign blame," Dr. Martinez said during their first session. "I'm here to help you both process what happened and decide what you want moving forward." Michael sat on one end of the couch, Amelia on the other, an ocean of space between them. "Michael, tell me what you're feeling right now." Angry, betrayed, confused. Michael's hands clenched in his lap. "I thought I'd learned to spot people who only wanted my money. And then Amelia showed up and seemed different, but it was all manufactured." "Michael, based on the evidence of her mother's 2-year planning, do you really believe Amelia manufactured your entire relationship?" Michael was quiet for a moment. "No, Victoria manufactured it. Amelia just went along with it." "Is that the same thing?" "I don't know. That's why I'm here." Over the next several weeks, they met twice a week. Dr. Martinez pushed them to be brutally honest with each other. In one session, she turned to Amelia. "You keep framing this as, 'I had no choice.' Let's examine that. You had choices at every point. They were all bad choices, but they were choices. Own that." Amelia felt tears building. "I chose to protect Lucas at Michael's expense. And how does that make you feel?" "Ashamed, guilty, like I'm exactly the person Victoria raised me to be, someone who uses people as tools." Michael's expression shifted slightly at that. In another session, Dr. Martinez challenged Michael. "You're holding on to the betrayal like armor. But if you want to move forward, you need to decide, are you going to let this define you forever?" "She lied to me for months. How do I just get over that?" "I didn't say get over it. I said decide if it's going to define you." Dr. Martinez's voice was firm. "You can acknowledge the hurt, while also acknowledging that the situation was more complex than woman tricks man for money." Slowly, painfully, things began to shift. Michael started asking questions not out of anger, but genuine curiosity. "When did you realize you actually had feelings for me? Do you remember that night you told Sophie about your father? About building with integrity?" Amelia's voice was soft. "I was sitting there listening to you and I realized this man is fundamentally good, and I'm fundamentally lying to him. And the dissonance was unbearable." "What did you do with that feeling?" "I cried in the bathroom and called Victoria. Told her maybe I should just come clean, and she threatened to cut off Lucas's treatment immediately." "Did you believe her?" "Yes. When I was 16, I wanted to go to summer art camp instead of the charity circuit. She said if I went, she'd donate my college fund to spite me. I went anyway, and she actually did it." Amelia's hands trembled. "So yes, I believed she'd let Lucas die to punish me." Michael absorbed this. "That's awful. It doesn't excuse what I did to you." "No, but it explains it." Michael's voice was thoughtful. "I keep trying to see you as this calculating villain, but you're not. You're just someone who was raised by one." 4 months into therapy, they had a breakthrough session. Dr. Martinez asked them each to write down what they needed to move forward. When they compared their lists, they realized they both needed similar things: autonomy, clarity, genuine connection. The question is whether you can help each other achieve those things, or whether you need to do it separately, Dr. Martinez said. After the session, Michael asked Amelia to have coffee with him. "Dr. Martinez asked me if I was still in love with you," Michael said, stirring sugar into his coffee. "I said I didn't know, because I don't know which you I fell in love with, the one Victoria created, or the real person underneath. If we'd met some other way, randomly, without Victoria's interference, would I have been interested in you?" Amelia considered carefully. 6 months ago? Probably not. I was so conditioned by Victoria's world. But the person I am now, the one who's been away from Victoria for 4 months, who's teaching art to kids, who's learning to think for herself, yes, That person would absolutely be interested in you. Michael was quiet for a long moment. I believe you. That's what's killing me. I actually believe that you've changed. But I don't know if we can build something real on a foundation of lies, even if the lies weren't entirely your fault. I understand. Dr. Martinez suggested something, that we try dating, actually dating. See if there's a real connection without Victoria's script. Michael's expression was vulnerable. I'm not promising it'll work. I'm just saying I'm willing to try. Amelia felt tears welling up. I would like that. Very much. They started small. Coffee once a week, then dinner, then museums where Amelia could share her passion for art without worrying about scripts. 6 months after their first therapy session, Michael invited Amelia to Sophie's school play. Sophie's face lit up when she spotted Amelia in the audience. After the play, she ran over and threw her arms around Amelia's waist. Later, after Sophie was in bed, Michael and Amelia sat on the porch. I've been thinking a lot, Michael said, about us. These past months, watching you build a life independent of Victoria, seeing you find purpose in teaching, you're becoming someone I want to know better. Not the person Victoria created, the real you. Michael, I'm not saying we're fixed. We're not. We have a long way to go. His hand found hers in the darkness. But I'm saying I want to keep going. I want to see where this leads. For real this time. Are you sure? No. But I'm sure I want to try. Michael squeezed her hand. But there's one more thing we need to do first. Deal with your mother. Permanently. Michael showed her emails from the Whitmore's lawyer. Victoria had missed the deadline for fulfilling her contract. The marriage had to last at least a year. The debt was enforceable again. They're foreclosing on the mansion next month. Victoria will lose everything, Michael said. I wanted you to know before it happens, to see if you wanted to intervene. Amelia thought about the mansion, about her childhood, about the woman who'd raised her with such cold calculation. No, let it happen. She made her choices. These are the consequences. You're sure? I'm sure. Lucas is safe. His treatment is complete and he's healthy. He doesn't need that mansion or Victoria's toxicity. Amelia met Michael's eyes. And neither do I. They sat in comfortable silence, hands intertwined, watching the stars. Why are you really giving me another chance? Amelia asked eventually. Because I realized something in therapy. Victoria didn't just manipulate you into marrying me. She manipulated me into believing I wasn't worth being loved for who I am. Michael's voice was thoughtful. And I could spend the rest of my life avoiding relationships because I'm afraid of being used again. Or I could do the work to heal and take a chance on something real, with someone who's doing the same work. I'm terrified this is a mistake, that I'm being fooled again, Michael admitted. But I'm more terrified of letting fear control the rest of my life, so I'm choosing to try. One day at a time. One day at a time, Amelia echoed. I can do that. As she drove away later, Amelia saw Michael in the rearview mirror, standing in his driveway, watching until her taillights disappeared. He was still scared. So was she. But they were facing that fear together, one difficult conversation at a time. And that was how real love was built, not in grand gestures or perfect moments, but in the quiet choice to keep showing up, keep being honest, keep trying, even when it was hard, especially when it was hard. The community center's art room smelled like paint and possibility. Amelia stood at the front of the classroom, watching 12 children work on their canvases. Teaching had come naturally to her in a way nothing else ever had. These kids didn't care about her last name or social connections. They just wanted to learn, to create, to express themselves. Her phone buzzed with the text from Michael. Running late. Emergency at the Riverside site. Can you pick up Sophie from dance? She replied quickly. Already planning on it. See you at home. Home. The word still gave her a quiet thrill, even a year later. After Victoria's financial collapse and the foreclosure on the Hartford mansion, Amelia had lived in her studio apartment for 8 months. She and Michael had continued therapy, continued their careful rebuild of trust. 3 months ago, Michael had asked her to move back in, not as his wife but as his partner, a genuine choice made freely by both of them. After class ended, Amelia picked up Sophie from dance. The 9-year-old burst out of the studio, immediately running over. "Amelia, did you see my text? I got picked for the recital solo." "I did see. Congratulations, superstar." Amelia hugged her tight. "Your uncle is going to be so proud." At home, they shared dinner together, the three of them talking about their days, comfortable and real in a way Amelia's old life never had been. After Sophie went to bed, Michael and Amelia settled on the back porch with glasses of wine. "I got a letter today," Amelia said quietly. "From Victoria." Michael tensed. What did she want? Money, what else? The Whitmores foreclosed on the mansion 8 months ago. She's living in a small apartment downtown. Amelia pulled the letter from her pocket, still sealed. "I haven't opened it. I'm not sure I want to." "You don't have to. You don't owe her anything." "You're probably right." Amelia watched the letter on the porch table. Lucas said she's been calling him. He's polite but distant. He's thriving at State College now. Full ride scholarship. His health is completely stable. They sat in comfortable silence for a while. "I was thinking," Michael said eventually, "about us. We're still technically married. The divorce papers were never filed." He turned to face her. "What if we did it right this time? Renewed our vows, made real promises to each other based on who we actually are?" Amelia's eyes filled with tears. "Are you serious?" "I've never been more serious." Michael pulled out a small velvet box. "I bought this 3 months ago. Been waiting for the right moment." Inside was a simple diamond ring, elegant but not ostentatious. "Amelia Hartford," Michael said softly, "I'm not asking you to marry me for the first time. That marriage was built on lies, and it doesn't count. I'm asking you to marry me for real, no scripts, no schemes, just you and me, choosing each other freely. Will you?" "Yes," Amelia whispered. "God, yes." They told Sophie that night. Her face split into the widest grin. "Are you kidding? That's the best news ever. Does this mean I can call you Mom for real now?" Amelia's throat closed up. "If you want to, I would be honored." "Then yes, you're Mom now." 3 months later, they stood in their garden surrounded by 30 people who actually mattered. Lucas, healthy and whole, walked Amelia down the makeshift aisle. Margaret dabbed at her eyes. Sophie, in a pale blue dress, held the rings. When it came time for vows, Michael said, "The first time we stood here, those promises were built on lies. Today I make new promises, built on truth. I promise to trust you, to believe in us, to build a life based on honesty and genuine love. Not the love we pretended to have, but the love we fought for and earned." Amelia responded, 18 months ago, my mother sent me to a cafe with a script designed to make you fall for a lie. But somewhere in those orchestrated moments, something real happened. I fell for you. Today I promise to never take that for granted. I promise to choose you every day, freely and completely." They exchanged simple gold bands. When the officiant pronounced them married, Michael kissed Amelia with joy and absolute certainty. As evening fell, Amelia stood with Michael watching Sophie chase fireflies in the gathering dusk. "Happy?" Michael asked. "More than I ever thought possible." Michael pulled her close. "It doesn't matter how we started. What matters is what we chose to build after everything fell apart. We fought for this." "We did," Amelia agreed softly. Somewhere across town, Victoria Hartford lived in her small apartment, alone. The truth about her manipulations had spread through Charleston's elite circles, and they'd closed ranks against her. Amelia felt sad for the woman who'd chosen power over love, but that sadness didn't weigh her down anymore. Her mother had made her choices, and those choices had consequences. Amelia had made different choices, and those choices had led her here, to this garden, to this man, to this family they'd built from the wreckage of Victoria's schemes. "Ready to start our life?" Amelia asked. "For real this time." Michael kissed her as the last light faded from the sky, Sophie running up to hug them both. This was their beginning. Not the false start orchestrated by manipulation, but a genuine new chapter built on truth, trust, and the hard-won knowledge that real love wasn't something you could script or manufacture. It was something you had to choose every single day, and they chose it. They chose each other. Finally, completely, freely. Love built on lies almost destroyed them, but honesty rebuilt everything. If Amelia and Michael's journey moved you, like, comment, and subscribe for more stories of redemption and real love.